Okay, so today I want to talk about a few different things that I'll elaborate on in the future. Today, by the way, is February 23rd, 2023, and I will change my mind probably on some of these over time. This is a work in progress, but I want to talk about 12 steps. No, not those 12 steps, but 12 steps that I think are important in overall health. I'm trying to put something together as a handout for clients and thought I would work through my ideas through here. So today I'm just going to go through the list relatively quickly, and then what I'm going to do in the future is take each of them one at a time. Again, subject to change in the future. So here I think are the 10 steps, not necessarily in any particular order as what people should do to stay healthy. My number one at this point is sleep. Get your sleep in order. Now, this is not something that is uh, unique in the sense that it's not something that you're doing in and of itself. In other words, it's interdependent with other factors, such as if your nutrition is off, your probably sleep will be bothered. If you're consuming too much alcohol or drugs, your sleep will be bothered. If you're not exercising enough or exercising too much, your sleep will be bothered. So there's more to it, but I'll elaborate in the future. Practice sleep hygiene. Number two, strength train safely, briefly, intensely, 1 to 3 times weekly. So again, I've talked a lot about that in the past, and I'll return, but the main idea is to train intensely enough to get desired effect, and to do it, if you are doing that, you have to do it briefly and infrequently, and you want to make sure that you're not destroying your body in the process, thus the safety part of this. 3, move often at a leisurely pace. So I always hear these things about 150 minutes a week or so many steps a day and things like that. I'm not convinced by any of those, but I am convinced that moving often throughout the day, just getting up and moving around at least once an hour is something that is really important. My Fitbit tracks 250 steps a day. For every hour that I move at least 250 steps, I don't know if that's the number or not, but getting up, moving around often, I think signals to your body that everything is good and you don't want to stay still for too long. Do so outside if convenient. And so anyways, what I would say about move often is more often is better, not more overall when it comes to moving. The other one is eliminate seed oils, vegetable oils, corn oils, canola oil, all these things. That one thing probably is the single biggest thing you can do for your nutrition. Number 5, emphasize protein. Many people, especially older adults, but a lot of people these days eating processed foods, eating boxed cereals for breakfast, are not getting nearly enough protein. Protein keeps you full longer, is really important. So just whenever you're starting a meal, ask yourself, first of all, what am I building it around? Build it around protein. Animal protein is superior, no matter what anybody says. You can get by with vegetable protein if you want, but you have to be much more diligent. So think faces. If it's got a face, eyes, or it comes from something that has face or an eyes, high quality protein. Number 6, avoid or minimize foods that contain both fat and carbs in the absence of protein. So I'm stealing that from the PE diet, PE ratio, and the idea that foods that contain both fat and carbs are almost impossible to not overeat. So try to avoid that. So I think that's basically all snack foods, all baking of any type. 7, minimize force. By that I mean minimize force on your joints, ligaments, and tendons. And that includes a lot of sports that people play, particularly older people think, they want to be young again, so they're going to take up a sport. And they think to be young, I'll do what young people do. Well, sorry to say, but as we get older, and maybe even when you're younger, increasing force on our joints, ligaments, and tendons is a bad idea. If you choose to do those things for recreational purpose, something you enjoy, do so with your eyes wide open, that you are subjecting your joints, ligaments, and tendons to forces that may come back to haunt you. Second part of 7 is delegate high-risk tasks. So this comes from Doug McGuff's He calls them his white or black swan avoidance. In other words, things like shoveling the snow off of your roof, putting up Christmas lights, things like that. Pay somebody to do it. Minimize or eliminate alcohol, drugs, tobacco, things like that. I mean, not a whole lot to say about that, as things are not health foods. Number 9, if not at your ideal body composition, and most of us are not, form the habit of a slight caloric deficit. And that doesn't mean more activity, burning more calories. That means eating less food. More on that later. Number 10, create or produce. Whether it's art, crafts, writing, music, hobbies, being productive in your chosen career, being productive and creative, I think, is very important to your mental health. Number 11, cultivate meaningful social relationships. If you are happy and have great relationships, it's going to spill out into other parts of it. In that, be loyal to the absent. Credit to Stephen Covey for that one, of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Be loyal to the absent simply means don't gossip, or if you do talk about somebody else, do so as though they were in the room next to you. And finally, practice the serenity prayer. Apply to minimize unnecessary stress. Serenity prayer, accepting the things you cannot change and not fretting about them more than is absolutely necessary. Courage to change things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So I want to keep this relatively short. I'm just under 7 minutes. And I want to elaborate on more of these at a later date, each one at a time. And I'm also going to possibly change the list, as this, as I mentioned in the beginning, is a work in progress. Thanks for listening. Subscribing is greatly appreciated.